School. I'm Miss Earls, and today Jake and Katie are going to dissect a cow eyeball for you.
I'm Jake.
I'm Katie.
Okay, the first thing we need to do, Jake, is to trim the fat from the back of the eyeball.
Good enough.
That's good enough.
Okay.
That's good enough. Now we want to cut the eyeball in half. So it's where we cut the fat off is in the back, and the cornea, or what we think of as the pupil, is in the front. Be very careful as you're slicing the eyeball in two. The aqueous humor could squirt. So Jake, now that you have the eyeball into two separate parts, let's look at the back part, what we call the posterior part. This is where we're going to find the cornea. The cornea is the cream-colored tissue that you see on the back of that you see on the back of the eye. Jake is moving that around right now. You also see a very iridescent, kind of shiny material. That is your tapetum. Your tapetum in a cow is what helps that cow see at night. Humans do not have tapetum. When you're outside at night and you shine a flashlight in the cat's eyes and the cat's eyes kind of shine back at you, that tapetum is what is allowing the cat's eyes to shine back at you. Now Jake's going to move that around a little bit, and we're going to find a point where that does not want to come off at all. That is called, where our point's at, where it's just kind of stuck in there. That is our optic disc. That's where all the rods and cones and nerves leave the eye and go into the optic nerve and into our brains so that our brains can decipher what we're looking at. Now let's look at the front of the eye, which is what we call the anterior portion of the eye. Jake, let's find the lens. There's our lens. Jake is removing a jelly-like substance. We call that jelly-like substance the vitreous humor. That vitreous humor helps hold our eyeball shape. Okay, what Jake is holding in his hand, that is the lens of the cow's eye. The lens is what the light goes through, and it focuses on our retina, and our retina is what takes the light into the optic nerve so that the optic nerve can take it to our brains, and our brains can decipher again what we're looking at. We also have something called a ciliary body inside that anterior portion of the eye. It's very striated. To me, it almost looks like a little centipede in there. That is a muscle. It contracts and it expands to allow the amount of light to come through your lens. So it's basically shaping your lens and allowing the amount of light to come in, or hindering the amount of light to come in. Underneath that, if we can get underneath that, we have something called the iris. Now the cow's iris is very different than our iris. The cow's iris controls the size of the pupil. A human's iris also controls the size of the pupil, but it also controls or deciphers what color your eye will be. So if your eyes are blue, your iris is blue. If your eyes are brown, your iris is brown. Underneath the iris, you're going to find the pupil. That's the clear spot that Jake is pointing to. That's the clear spot where the light enters the eye the very first time. And then if he will flip that eye over, let's look at the front of it. There is a kind of like a membrane that covers the front of the eye. That is your cornea. Your cornea covers that pupil right there. The white around that cornea, we call that your sclera. And that is a cow eye dissection.